Hey, fellow teachers. Welcome to this week's edition of Teacher Talks. I am so glad you're here. Thanks for taking 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to spend time with me. And speaking of busy schedules, I know as being a former teacher turned financial planner that your life is full of distractions and things you have to get done and important things and all sorts of things that sometimes what's something that we need to plan on, we don't do. And what's one thing that it would be near and dear to my heart that we don't plan on? And that's retirement. And the reason why we don't is because it seems like it's so far away from us. And there's so many things going on now. We've got, bills to pay. We've got a mortgage. We've got kids. Depending on our situation, we've got to make sure that we've got stuff for our health insurance. Everything is going on in our lives, and your lives are really busy, and I know that. So I want to help you today to think about retirement in a positive way. And I'm basing what I'm talking about today on a book that's by Hal Hershfield that I read. There's a whole bunch of books on your future self, and they're all very good. I've read several of them. This book in particular, though, I really appreciated because it was based on a lot of scientific research, and there's lots of studies in the book. And many of their studies are based on financial goals and financial needs and what happened when people pictured their future self to what they did now, and that it actually made changes. So I wanted to share those changes with you and what you can do. And if you don't want to, go ahead and pick up that book to read. So the first thing I want to look at is, who is your future self? I mean, why even care? Well, who is your future self? Your future self is who you are going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, 1 year. And there's a couple things that are really important about your future self. For one, it's not the same as your past self. If you look back and you say, oh gosh, who was I 10 years ago? You'll realize that you're not the same person that you were 10 years ago. Well, the same happens if we think about ahead. A lot of times we just keep thinking we've got so many things going on presently that we forget that we're moving forward in time. And we're going to get to that future self. And that future self is going to be different than the present self I have now, just like my past self is different than the present self I have now. So how do we do this, or what are our steps? So the first thing I want you to think about is visualize your future self. Who are you going to be in 10 years? Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? Who are you going to be with? Where are you going to want to spend your time? Who are you relating with? What activities are you doing? If you can make it as vivid as you can, that's the best way to do it. Who are you going to be? Close your eyes and think about it. Visualize who you want to be, and what your ideal situation would be, and what you would want to tell your future self 10 years from now. What do you want to tell them? And what do they need to know? And what do they want to tell you, right? Then with this future self in mind, the next thing we want to do is we want to set specific financial goals. Because no matter what, all of our dreams do have financial underpinnings to them. If we want to travel, we've got to be able to pay for it. We want to see our grandkids, we've got to be able to afford the time to be able to do that, which means we're going to have to make sure that we've got ways to pay for ourselves. So even though we don't like to think about sometimes the nitty-gritty things like the financial things, they impact everything. So we want to set specific financial goals to get you to where that ideal self in the future is. And when you picture your future self, and this was what studies had shown, and which I thought was so interesting, is when people were talking about their 401k program or their 403b program, and they pictured where they needed it to be for what they wanted to do in the future, it made them much more likely to start now. So if you're, start early, start now. And because it tied to them, because they could see that what you do now affects the future. The money you put in today, you'll be able to spend tomorrow. And so you'll have something tomorrow. The good things we put in today will be reaped tomorrow for ourselves. And what we do today affects tomorrow. And so now we've got our money going and we're thinking about our tomorrow, and our next step would be to invest wisely. How comfortable are we with having our money ride the market waves? And how much of that wave are we comfortable taking? How much do we need to have to make ourselves feel safe to be like an emergency fund? Invest wisely, invest according to what you're comfortable with and for what you want it to grow to. How much do you want your money to grow? What percent do you want it to grow by? That's important, and that's how the way you invest, that's how it is determined. And then revisit your plan. So you're going to make a plan, you're going to talk, and you're going to want to change it, you're going to want to revise it. Next year you might be thinking something different. Things change, right? We know our financial situations change, our health situations change. We want to keep up with those things. And so your financial plan is never set in stone. It's rather a living organism, a living plan where you want to change it and it flows with you and it's adjusted all the time. So let me share with you a story of Sarah. Meet Sarah. She is a successful teacher and one of my clients, and she really wanted to get things together for herself and look forward to the future with excitement. So what did Sarah do? Sarah's got some constraints, right? She's not making a whole lot of money. She does have debt, credit cards, still some student debt. Excuse me, she's got retirement worries like, how much am I really going to need for retirement? What am I going to do? So what did we do? Well, together we visualized her purpose. We talked, Sarah and I, what are your future financial goals? Where do you want to be? Set your financial goals on that. In her case, living in cold Ohio in the winter, she wants to join so many other Ohioans and Michiganders that go down to Florida or the South for the winter time and get some relief. She wants to do that when she retires. She wants to retire at 65. She thinks that's probably long enough. She can get her full pension. She can set things up. She likes that idea. These are specific goals that she made for herself, and that we could then say, well, what can we do what financially do we need to do to be there at that goal? So what did she do? She started saving. She started tracking her saving. She started paying attention to what her investments were doing. She started talking with me each year as we revisited the goals and we went over things and we reviewed and we revised and we updated her plan. We made sure that everything was working like it was supposed to work. So that because to get to your future self, you've got to put in some effort. And she didn't have a lot of time. So she would talk to me and we would touch base and we would keep doing things to make sure that we were staying online with what she needed to do. So what can you do, right? Start your journey today. I encourage you, visualize where you want to be. What is your ideal life going to be for retirement? What is it going to be 10 years from now if you're still working? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing if it's before retirement? Join us every week. Every week I spend 10 minutes and I think of things and take ideas from all of you that watch and listen and give me feedback of topics that would be helpful and encouraging to you to take as a tidbit, could carry you back to get you through the next week. So join us here every week. And if you are ready, you can schedule a 15-minute resource call. There's no obligation. This is more resources. I have resources and papers or studies or things that might be helpful to you that you might want to know. 15-minute resource call. I'm happy to chat with you and answer the questions that you have or that may have come up. A lot of times we talk about the retirement is at the summit of a mountain that we're climbing up, right? No matter where we are. And your future financial well-being is within reach, and you're going to make it to that summit. You can reach me always at deb@teachersroadmap.com. It's www.Debbie's calendar if you want to schedule a 15-minute call. Again, I look forward to seeing you next week, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Take care.